Hi traders, it's Roberto and welcome to the tutorial on stochastics indicator and price action. We are going to look at a 1 hour chart and how to find support and resistance levels using stochastics indicator and price action for entries. So let's just get started. We're looking at pound Australian dollar, one of my favorite pairs to trade. And the strategy is quite simple. It's just being able to find those levels of support and resistance, and using stochastics indicator as a guide and price action to tell us when the market's either overbought or oversold at any given time using a 1 hour chart and confirming it on the 4 hour chart. So let's look at a trade right here. The first thing I do is that I count the number of pips that the market put in before it hit a support or resistance level. And here's a swing low, and here's the swing high. Let me just mark that here with an arrow. Here's a swing low, and here's a swing high. Then I count the number of pips. 266 pips, and that's roughly is the daily range on the pound Aussie dollar. Then I look at stochastics indicator. I see that it's overbought. And I also notice that we have a color change candle, and 3 hours later we had a false break. So I look and I notice that the markets are pretty much overbought. 266 pips. Markets put in, stochastics overbought. Then the next thing I do is look at the 4 hour chart. And this is the 4 hour chart. Notice this is the level of resistance that we marked on the 1 hour chart. And the 4 hour chart stochastics indicator is also overbought. So when we have a stochastics indicator that is overbought on the 1 hour and 4 hour chart, then that becomes a very high probability trade setup. Okay, let's look at some more trades. Here again, on the same pair, we have an oversold condition on the 1 hour chart, and it happens to be around the London close. Right here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bearish candles, followed by a color change candle, stochastics oversold on the 1 hour chart. So let's go on the 4 hour chart and see if we have an oversold stochastic indicator as well. So this is the London close, stochastics oversold. We have a color change candle. We also had a false break. 2 hours later, price came back down to test the swing point. Let's go on the 4 hour chart. And there it is right here. Stochastics is also oversold, making this a very high probability trade setup at the time of entry. Here is another trade setup. The market put in about 278 pips from this swing low to this swing high. And we've got 1, 2, 3 green candles followed by a color change candle at around the London close. Stochastics is overbought on the 1 hour chart. Let's go to the 4 hour chart. And that's this trade right here. So stochastics was also overbought on the 4 hour chart. These are very high probability trade setups, specifically when stochastics indicator is overbought or oversold on the 1 hour and 4 hour. And we have price action trade setup. And even on the 4 hour chart, we had a color change candle. We had 2 green candles. Remember, it just takes 2 consecutive candles of the same color and then a color change candle for a trade setup. And there was a trade. Okay. Here's another trade setup on the 4 hour chart, and stochastics is also overbought. Let me just change the color just to distinguish this one from the previous. So let's go to the 1 hour chart, and that's April 29th. And there it is. Stochastics was overbought on the 1 hour as well. And we have price had pretty much was exhausted at these levels. And this is the London close. So from the swing low to the swing high, 229, 230 pips. We have a color change candle. Stochastics is overbought on the 1 hour and 4 hour as well. And the market just went and retraced 132 pips. So this is quite simple strategy to use. Just make sure that you have a checklist and you've got stochastics overbought or oversold on the 1 hour chart and 4 hour. Price action, count the number of pips before you saw the setup. Count the number of pips from the swing low to the swing high. And see if it's happening around a London close, because that's one of the most consistent trade retracements or reversals is around that time of day. Also, when you see prior support or resistance levels, for example here, notice market went up and it came back down to a support level and it just kept bouncing back. 6 hours later it came back to the same level, and then about 6 hours later it came back to the same support, and stochastics at the time of entry was oversold. So we can look at the 4 hour chart and see if we have the same thing. So this is April 19th. Let's go to the 4 hour chart. April 19th is right here. And stochastics on the 4 hour chart was not quite down to 20, but the lines did cross to the upside. That's what's important. As long as it's very close to the 20 parameter and the two lines cross, then you do have a trade set up. Not every trade is going to be perfect. You're not going to have completely oversold or completely overbought conditions on stochastics indicator. But if it's very close, you'll have a trade setup. Ideal setups is when stochastics indicator is completely overbought or oversold on the 4 hour and 1 hour chart. Those are pretty much good trade setups. I think we had a pound dollar trade setup. Here it was. I took this trade, but I exited this trade because I did not want to stay in over the weekend, and because it may gap up. So here we have an evening start on the 1 hour chart. Stochastics overbought, correct? And then we have, let's look at the 4 hour chart. And the 4 hour chart was also overbought. Okay. And this is, I would have stayed in this trade if it wasn't on a Friday. A very good trade setup, and it technically the market should continue to sell off to a fib level, which is around 50% retracement level, because that is a swing point. We have two swing points here. So these are levels of support that we should expect the market to bounce off of. Okay, is one here, swing point, and then the second one is here, which happens to be the 50% retracement level, which is a very, very popular retracement level for the pound dollar. Okay, and stochastics will definitely be oversold on the 4 hour chart if it comes back down to these levels here. Here is a trade setup on the Aussie dollar. This is obviously a news event. The market went up about 187 pips, and that's exceeded its daily range. The Aussie dollar is usually about an 80-85 pip average true range, and here it went up over 100, actually 190, so it's doubled. So we look at stochastics indicator on the 1 hour chart, and we notice that for several hours after the market reacted to the news event, pretty much stalled out. So we're looking at this consolidation period, and we're looking at stochastics overbought on the 1 hour chart, and it's done its daily range. So let's look at the 4 hour chart, and we notice on the 4-hour chart. Stochastics indicator is overbought as well. And we've got a color change candle, false breaks on the 4-hour. But just having stochastics overbought on 2 time frames, 1-hour and 4-hour chart, and the market putting in a daily range is probably just enough information for you to take a trade. Okay. So let's go on the 1-hour chart. Again, market had put in twice as many pips as it normally puts in. Stochastics overbought on the 1-hour chart and 4-hour chart, and that's your trade right here. And the market probably gave back almost all of those gains, 165 pips before it recovered. Here's a very easy trade setup on pound yen. And we go over our list. First, you count the number of pips prior to the trade. And we count the number of pips from the swing high to the swing low. It's 185 pips, which is roughly the daily range on the pound yen these days. And then number 2, on our list, stochastics is oversold on the 1-hour chart. We also have an inside bar. So what we do is we isolate what is called a mother candle, this red bar here. And then, so that is isolating the mother candle, as it's called right there. So this is an inside bar, and we notice that price broke above this mother candle. So that's our buy trigger. Okay. Stochastics oversold, 185 pips. And let's look at the 4-hour chart and see we have confirmation. And here we have a 4-hour chart. And on the 4-hour chart, we also have a color change candle. 1, 2, 3 red candles followed by a color change candle. The entry on the 4-hour chart would have been later, but notice that stochastics indicator was oversold as well. So on the 1-hour chart, we had oversold stochastics, an inside bar, 185 pips prior to the entry, which qualifies for a trade, and that's it. So let's go over the trade strategy and how to qualify it. So here's a list that you need to really be aware of. First, you have overbought or oversold stochastics on the 1-hour and 4-hour chart. Daily or average true range, if the market has done its daily range or exceeded its daily range. Also, look at the time of the day, the London close, the New York close, the beginning of a session and the end of a session. Previous support or resistance levels, very important, because usually price will react to previous support and resistance levels, especially in a higher time frame. Price action is essentially you understand your candlestick patterns. Exhaustion candles, inside bars, color change candles, tweezer tops, tweezer bottoms. There's so many. Evening stars, morning stars, or a few others. So when you see stochastics indicator overbought and oversold, and you, for example, let's say here we have an evening star right here, and price stochastics indicator is overbought. So that's 2 reasons why we should be taking a trade here. Also, count the number of pips from the swing low to the swing high, 140 pips, which qualifies on the pound yen. And we were, before the market hit a resistance level, we were essentially in a downtrend. And then it came back up to retest a swing point and then collapse from there. Okay. So stochastics overbought on the 1-hour and 4-hour chart, daily or average true range, or if it's exceeded its daily range. Look at the time of day. Normally you'll see this at a beginning of a session, end of a session, London close or New York close. Look for support and resistance, previous support and resistance levels. And then you must, and it's so important to know your candlestick patterns. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. If you're interested in taking your trades to another level, just check out our website. It's fxnorthwestinstitute.com. Again, at fxnorthwestinstitute.com, we have private coaching sessions. We have trade room, live trade room, trade copier. If you're interested in any of our services, please just email us. Just go to the website and contact us. Have a good weekend and see everyone next week.